What an interesting development. Maybe we're getting closer after all. Maybe Emmy's finally ready to open up a little. Or maybe she's just being polite and a free meal seems like a good way to apologize for last night. Great. Now I can't decide whether to be excited, nervous, or depressed. I settle for a combination of all three and hop in the shower. I don't think I like riding on buses. Actually, I think I'm pretty comfortable saying that as a fact. They sway a lot and they smell funny and you can feel every bump in the road. I'm really not looking forward to this. Plus, Emmy's legs keep making a clanking noise that draws the attention of everyone else on the bus. She's in shorts again and she's got long socks drawn up on her prosthetic so they don't look so obviously false again. But that doesn't stop the odd look or two every time her legs bump together with an audible clunk. I shift nervously in my seat and Emmy raises an eyebrow questioningly. She doesn't seem to mind the stares, either that or she doesn't even notice that people are staring. I'm sure she's gotten her fill of odd looks before. After a certain amount of time, I doubt she'd notice anymore. Not that she'd ever tell me if I asked. Another fact is, I'm not just uncomfortable about the bus. I can't seem to come to terms with the fact that Emmy appears to be trying to bring me closer, while at the same time pushing me away. The nurse said she trusts me, even if it doesn't look like it. But I'm not sure I can trust the nurse. He's protective of Emmy, just like I'm protective of Emmy. And I'd be likely to say something to make her look good if someone asked me about her. So he might just be doing that. Still, there was something about the way he seemed genuinely surprised that Emmy invited me along. Maybe last night's talk helped more than I think, but I'm still worried. Meeting the parents is a big deal, right? Not that I haven't already met Amy's mother, but that was just as an acquaintance. Now it's going to be as Amy's boyfriend, with everything that implies. I can feel my heart pounding in my chest, an echo of that snow-covered afternoon that feels like it was so long ago that it might as well have been another life entirely. Except then, I didn't know what was going on. I also didn't have medication to help prevent things spiraling out of control. I've come a long way in terms of my physical health, and for the second time today, I feel like I'll be able to live normally now, or at least as normally as possible. Now, if only I could manage my relationships as well as I've managed my heart, I'd be in great shape. Well, we're here, she says. Emmy grabs my hand as soon as we've stepped off the bus. She starts heading down the street almost immediately. Come on, we've got a couple blocks until my place. What? Oh, okay, I say. I follow Emmy down the street, watching her confident stride. She's setting kind of a quick pace for just a walk. I guess she's anxious to get there. So, does your mom do this sort of thing often, I ask? Nah, not too frequently, she says. Mom's never been much for playing hostess. Oh, yeah? Yeah, my dad was always the one pushing her to have people over. This sudden and unprompted reference to her father catches me off guard. And from the look on Emmy's face, I'm not sure she meant to mention him. I think I've only ever heard her talk about him once. All I remember is that Emmy's mom told me that he wasn't around anymore. Oh, your mom prefers solitude, I ask? Emmy laughs, either from relief that I didn't ask about her father or from finding my statement actually funny. Not at all, she says. She's why I'm such an outgoing person, you know. She just prefers to be a guest rather than a hostess. It's less stressful that way, or so she says. Clearly, she's never had to meet her girlfriend's mother for dinner, I say. Emmy giggles again and speaks in a teasing tone. Nervous, Hisao? You shouldn't be, you know. It's not that big a deal. Just dinner at my house, that's all. Yeah, but have you ever brought home a boyfriend before? I confess that part of me dreads hearing the answer to this. I know very little of Emmy's past relationships. I don't even know if there were past relationships. No, I guess I haven't, she said. Hey, maybe this really is kind of a big deal after all. Oh, good, I say. Now I feel twice as nervous. Though, to tell the truth, I'm pretty happy to hear that I'm the first one. Maybe we've got something special after all. Bolstered by this new thought, I've managed to calm down considerably by the time Emmy knocks on her front door. Hey, Mom, open up, we're here. The door swings open and Miss Ibarazaki stands grinning at her daughter. The grin is still surprisingly similar to Emmy's. I'm never going to get used to that. You know, she says, people normally wait for a few minutes before they start shouting at the door. Emmy replies, and most mothers say hello to their daughters instead of scolding them right away. Ah, of course. Welcome home, dear. I've missed you. An affectionate hug later, we're inside, and it's only then that Emmy's mom seems to remember that I'm actually here. And hello to you too, Hisao. How are you, she says. I'm quite well, thank you. Nice to not have school to worry about for a little while. Ah, yes, you finished up your exams, haven't you, she says. That must be quite a relief for you both. It's certainly a weight off my mind, that's for sure, I tell her. Mine too, Emmy says. I think I slept well for the first time in weeks last night from relief alone. If this news is a surprise to Emmy's mother, she doesn't show it. Still, her response betrays a note of interest. Is that so? I'm very glad to hear that, Emmy. You know, I get worried when you get all wound up about, well, exams. Certainly Emmy's mother knows something I don't, or rather, she doesn't know that Emmy's told me about the nightmares. It's interesting being able to observe how Miss Ibarazaki covers for Emmy. That protective instinct to make sure that I don't know any more than Emmy's willing to tell me. I suppose Emmy's got more in common with Quarks than I ever realized. Moves around fast, impossible to understand through direct observation, yet she has an effect on everyone she encounters. I wonder if Miss Ibarazaki will figure out that I know about the nightmares, or is she just keeping everything secret from everybody? Yeah, it's not been as bad this year as in the past, she says. Hisao helped me to stay focused. Okay, I know that's not true. She even cut off contact outside of school hours during exam week. But she did see me during the day. And she told me more than once that the morning run was the only thing she looked forward to during exams, so maybe it's not that much of a lie. Either way, to hear that being around has helped even a little makes me feel a little bit better. Emmy's mother raises an eyebrow at this statement. Either she doesn't believe Emmy, or she's as surprised as I am. Well, then it appears that it's a good thing you two have become so close, she says. I'd tell you to take good care of my daughter, Hisao, but it looks like you're already doing that. Emmy grins at this and seems to take pride in my having to manage to ingratiate myself with her mother so easily. Actually, I'd say your daughter's been the one taking care of me. She's gotten me out and running. I've probably been more active since meeting her than I ever was, even before. I'd actually never thought of it that much, nor had I ever appreciated the humor in it. I wasn't too active before the heart attack. Pickup games of soccer don't really count since they weren't that common. So now that I know for sure that I have a weak heart, now I run every day, pushing my luck with the help of my medication. I chuckle quietly, then realize that I never finished my sentence. Well, before I had my heart attack and wound up at school here. It comes out so casually. There was a time that I would have thought twice about talking about what was wrong with me at all. But now it just seems silly to care, especially in the company of Emmy and her mother. If Emmy can be cavalier about her disability, then so can I. I think back to the track meet where Emmy declared herself the fastest thing on no legs. The fact of her obvious loss has never seemed to bother her, at least not in public. Being stuck in the wheelchair frustrated her, I know, but even that was something she dealt with on her own, despite my efforts to the contrary. Emmy's mother continues. Emmy has a way of bringing out the more active side in people. I've never quite figured out how she does it. Well, those puppy dog eyes she gets for starters. I'm not surprised that she managed to rope you into an exercise routine. If Ren wasn't just as stubborn as she is, I'm sure that Emmy would have gotten her out and running with you too. Oh, that reminds me, Emmy says. Ren says hello. I drift to the outer edges of the conversation again as we move into the dining room to eat. It smells delicious in here, and the spread that Emmy's mom has produced is impressive. Whoa, you've made enough to feed an army in here, Emmy says. Is it too much? Well, you can always take some leftovers with you when you go. That sounds great, I say. I can only handle cafeteria food for so long. Something home-cooked would be a welcome change of pace. What he said. Thanks, Mom. The food tastes as good as it smells, and there's a lull in the conversation while we all dig in. Emmy assaults her plate with the usual amount of gusto, and I will admit that I set a pretty fast pace myself. So, Hisao, I hear that you and my daughter have gotten rather close, The urge to say something like, not really, is so strong that I open my mouth to say it, but then reassert control. We are close. There's no getting around it. I mean, Emmy's brought me here, hasn't she? Fortunately, both Emmy and her mother seem to take my reaction as a sign that I'm caught off guard rather than considering saying something cruel. Heh, I suppose we have, I say. I blame the morning runs myself. You make it sound like a bad thing, Hisao, Emmy scolds me. Well, I for one found it a relief, her mother says. Why's that? Emmy's always been a popular girl, she says, but never made many close friends. This is a bit of news to me. I've always seen Emmy chatting with her classmates in the hallways. And certainly the whole track team seems to love her. But it is true that she chooses to isolate herself during lunch with Ren and me. Not exactly the sort of behavior one expects from a popular girl, after all. Then again, I've experienced her unwillingness to get close firsthand, so I can't say that I'm surprised. I was beginning to have my doubts, her mother continues. Emmy rolls her eyes to the ceiling and grumbles something that I can't quite make out. Huh? What? Emmy says. What's that you just said? I say. Nothing. Miss Ibarazaki chokes on her drink with laughter. You've been hanging out with the nurse too long, Emmy, she says. I'm going to have to talk to him about corrupting my daughter. Somehow, I don't think that would be very effective, I say. I learned most of it from you anyway, not from the nurse, Emmy says. Don't listen to her, Hisao. She's a born liar, her mother says. Yeah, right. Oh, I don't know, Emmy. I think your mother has a point. What? You traitor! You're supposed to take my side in this. Yeah, but you did lie about your leg after the meet. Oh! A kick in the shins from an unmistakably plastic foot cuts me off, but not before Miss Ibarazaki's eyebrows shoot upwards. What about your leg? She says. It wasn't a big deal, that's all, Emmy says. I was just, in a wheelchair for a bit. The last few mumbled words are quickly deciphered by Emmy's mother. I suspect she has experience with this sort of thing, and a worried frown appears on her face. So that's why he kept dodging my calls, she says. Oh, Emmy, I know how much you hate being in a wheelchair. No wonder you've been in such a mood lately. Yeah, I tell her, she's much happier on her feet, so to speak. Well, of course, her mother says. She spent enough time in a chair just after the accident. She didn't get prosthetics immediately? No, she had to finish healing up before they'd let her start the sort of therapy you've got to go through to adjust to those things. Especially since she wanted to run on them. I had no idea. Yeah, it sucked, Emmy says. Oh, did you see Ren's mural at the festival? Emmy's sudden change of topic makes me realize belatedly that she's been fidgeting the whole time her mother and I have been talking. I should have figured on her being a little skittish when it comes to talking about the accident, even around her mother. No, I didn't make it out to the festival, remember? Although I caught a glimpse of it at your track meet, it seemed pretty weird to me. I think that's more or less what she was going for, Emmy says. She talked a lot about it being dreamlike, or trying to make it dreamlike. Ren's art is one of those things I don't think I'll ever understand, her mother says. That's not surprising. I don't think Ren expects to be understood, says Emmy. She told me once that art allows people to understand stuff they wouldn't understand otherwise, but all the same, she doesn't think it actually works that way. I'm surprised that Emmy's talked about this with Ren extensively enough to actually have Ren's opinion, such as it is. Although I expect that Ren could nod if she were so inclined, say the same thing about Emmy's. Unless, of course, Emmy is purposely keeping me in the dark about everything, which is likely, but unpleasant to think about. I drift down this unpleasant train of thought for a while, losing track of the conversation. Hey, Emmy, her mother says, I've been meaning to ask. Huh? Are you going to visit your father this year? From the way she says it, you'd think Emmy's mother was talking about the weather. From the way Emmy reacts, it's clearly not the weather they're talking about. She flinches, a slight jerk of her head backward, as if she's just been slapped in the face. Can we talk about this later, she says. Her voice sounds brittle, strained. It looks as if she's been severely shaken by the question. It seems that Miss Ibarazaki misjudged just how close Emmy and I are. Some things, it seems, are best not conversed about with me around. Her father is one of these things. The accident that took her legs is probably another one of these things, if her reaction to the earlier conversation between her mother and myself is any indication. It doesn't take Emmy's mother long to realize she's screwed up. Of course we can, dear, she says. I'm sorry to bring it up. I just wanted to ask so I can make plans. It's fine. Don't worry about it, Emmy says. Emmy fidgets nervously as if embarrassed by her own reaction. I confess that her reaction is confusing. She only just mentioned her father to me earlier today. Less than a few hours ago, even. Why does such a simple question about when she'll visit her father cause such a strong reaction? Unless whatever serenity she claimed to have reached by means of our talk the previous evening has suddenly evaporated. Or it didn't help as much as she thought, or claimed. I'll be right back, she says. Gotta visit the little girl's room. Emmy gets up suddenly and leaves the table, leaving me and Miss Ibarazaki alone. I'm a little conflicted. Should I go after her, or should I stay here? It's obvious that Emmy's departure was not based on the call of nature. Something's bothering her, and I have to know what it is. How to go about it. So now Hisao has gone to meet Emmy's mother officially for the first time, though he had met her at the track meet, of course, when he and Ren were there. Um, we find out that perhaps Miss Ibarazaki thinks we are a little bit closer and that maybe Emmy has told us a little bit more about what's going on than she actually has. And then gets upset and leaves the table, and the discussion turns to her father. So that brings up yet another important point, important decision point here, to go after her or to sit here and talk to her mom. And that is what we will cover in the next episode. This actually takes you down two different branches. They will actually lead to the same result, or can lead to the same result. They can both lead to the good ending, but we will go down them both as kind of alternates. One to show you what happens when you sit here at the table, the other one to show you what happens when you go after and talk to Emmy. And that is what we will do in the next episode. It'll probably be 2 episodes. We'll probably do 1 episode for both of those down the different paths that you go. And we will get started on that probably tomorrow. So we will see you then.